So today we'll see the typecasting or the conversion which we normally encounter in our real times, right? So, so when we are talking about typecasting or conversion, right, it is a typecasting across the data types we have seen, right? So there are two different types of typecasting, data typecasting we normally have, right, which is implicit and explicit way of fine. So let's see both. So we have implicit and explicit. You understand when we say implicit, right? It is like you don't have to do anything for conversion, and it is known. It will automatically know that okay, it will actually consider the conversion. Right? For example, let's see. So here, let's say I'm going to take in I or I1 is equal to, let's say, 899, for example. Now, once I assign any value to integer, now we know that okay, this is going to be I1 also. So I can always reassign. So when I say I1 is equal to maybe 978 or 98 something. Now, when I print I1, right, the latest value which will be there is the latest one, which is right. So when I run this program, now we know that when I'm printing I1, the 98 is the one which will always be printed because this is the latest one now. Fine. So now in this situation, now let's say if I want to assign this value to short or let's say to long, basically we'll start with long. I'll say long L1 is equal to, I'll say I1. Now this is what is a situation of a typecast. Now where I1 is of type integer and L1 is of type long. And what we are doing here, we are trying to assign I1 to L1. Right? Now in this situation, this is called as an implicit conversion because I1 is an integer type where there is a 4 bytes. Right? We know that this is of 4 bytes. And long is of type 8 bytes. Right? Now which means I can fit in 4 bytes of data into 8 bytes of data simple. So that's why it won't ask you for any exclusive conversions, but it will automatically take. So now when I print L1 here, right, when I run the program, you can see the value of L1 will be I1. This is called as your implicit conversion where the lower data type is assigned to the higher data type. That's your conversion. Lower data type is getting assigned to the higher data type. So it is for all. Let's say I'm going to take a decimal, for example. Decimal is again much bigger. Or let's say I'm going to take double. Double is same as long, right? When I say double DB1, let's say is equal to L1, for example. Can I do this? Right? So we know that long and double are of same size, 8 bytes. That even double is of 8 bytes. Right? So now let's say I'm going to print DB1. So which is my double. So now you can see. So again, now it can be lower to higher or same type of data type or same size data type kind of. When I take it, right now it is going to actually take the data type. Now this is called as an implicit typecast or implicit type conversion. Right? Now let's go and see the explicit one, right? Which is the one which we have to handle. So for example, let's say again let me take integer I2, right? Some number. And let's say I'm going to take short system. Right? So here in this implicit way of conversion, there is 0% of risk. There is no risk at all. Even if it reaches even if the value of the source reaches complete 4 bytes, right? The value with the data with whom it is actually getting assigned will always accommodate the full value. There is no issue at all. But now let's see the situation here. What is happening is, now we are defining an integer, and let's say I'm going to define a short, maybe st1 is equal to I2. This is kind of a situation where we are assigning integer which is of 4 bytes to short which is of 2 bytes. Now can this be possible? Now, it is possible till integer fills in 2 bytes. It is possible. But what if it goes over? Now if it goes over, right, there is no it won't fail, but it will actually corrupt the data. That's what it happens. But if you want to convert the data from integer to short, then you have to explicitly use conversion. See here, there is an error here. If I move mouse out, error you can see cannot implicitly convert into short, and explicit conversion exists, which means we have to explicitly convert this. Now how to convert it? Now just prefix before this I2, prefix is the data you want to convert. Simple. Now this what we are doing, we are forcibly converting integer to short. That is the convention here. It's a force conversion here. And now yes, I mean when I print on st1, right? Now this will print as much as 2 bytes is fit in, right? You can see, yeah, this is something which is out. Now this happens with all the lower data types to higher to lower data types, right? And one different type of conversion here is, so let's say if you want to convert string, let's say str2 is equal to, let's say 1 2 3, right, into, for example, let's take float, right, ft1. So can I assign directly str2? Again, this is something. Now we know that string doesn't have any size limit, right? Which means string is almost an object type, and we know that object is like like daddy of all the data types. So here you can see when I'm assigning str2, which is a string, to the float, right? It will again give you error. And then if you also you can see cannot implicitly convert string to float. Now this is something which is not possible. But for these type of conversions, we don't use these type of convention. No, specifically for string I'm saying, not for all. For everything else, yes, you can go ahead with this. But whenever you are converting string to specific type, then so that specific type, like now we are using float, I'm going to use float. We have something called parse, right? This is something which is called as a parse, which means float.parse message. Okay, just go through the string, okay, parse it, and whatever value you are getting, convert it to float. That's what it is. Now let me print it ft1. If you print it, now you can see when I run the program, it will show you the converted float value, which is 123. So this 123 is a converter. That's how we normally convert. Now what if the value is alphanumeric? So when I run this, let's see even this one. Now this is something which will create a fat level. This will crash a program. It says input string was not in correct format. Now you see, even if I click on continue, it will not continue. As we are in debug mode, right? As we are in a debug mode, because we are in a coding and debug mode, it may not show you the crash. But once you deliver this exe, and if this exe is not right, and if this exe is not handling the error, then the complete application will crash. Right? So this is something which is a chaotic or we normally call fatal exception. Anyways, we'll see how to handle exceptions later, right? We have a complete big topic of handling exceptions. But now, in the parse itself, we have one more internal method called try parse. See, there is something called try parse. So how does it? Let me show. We have something called float. I'm just defining a string and I'm just defining a float. And we'll try to use try parse. We have a try parse. See the parameters. You have a string. Which string you want to assign? Let's say I have str2 is to assign and out result. So out space. What is the float value you want to assign? It is FLT1. So now this always returns your anyways, whether this operation is successful or not, it will always return your true or false. Let me just take boolean value. Let's say res result is equal to so. Right? Let's print this result also. So which is my console dot write line of res. Res is a boolean, right? So I'm gonna print both whether it is true or false, whether the conversion happened was true. And you can see the conversion didn't happen, false. Now this is a way to avoid the parallel error. We are not, trying out anything with this, right? Where we are trying to try. Okay, if it is convertible, then convert. Otherwise, don't do that. So now you can see it's a alphanumeric, right? It will not convert, which means it will give you false, which means the conversion is not possible, false, and the value of ability one will be the original value, which is 0 USI. Right? And let's say if this is a real number, for example, and if you run it again, right? Now you can see yes, it is true. Okay, this value is convertible, and the value which actually got converted to float is your 234. Right? Now this is something which is your explicit typecasting we do normally for strings to any data. It is for any data. It is not a float. If you have integer, you have integer dot try parse. If you have a double dot for try parse, decimal dot. For every data type, we have a type parse. This is something which is your conversion, which is typecasting or a conversion phenomenon. Fine. So now let's see the next one, which is comments. What is a comment? So in general, we have two types of comments, right? Commenting single line and multi-line commenting, right? So anyways, two reasons why we normally use comments. One, either you want to skip some piece of code from execution. Second, you want to use comments to define the reason of creating a method or a variable or something. Let's see the first part, right? So for example, here let's say, this is my complete piece of code, right? You can see, unknowingly we have created something called comments here. These are comments. So when I wrote slash and sign byte, what does this mean? Which means when execution is happening, right? So we haven't seen the debugging yet. I'll show you the debugging, right? When execution is happening, right? What it will do? It will not consider anything which is commented. Now this is commented. Now you can see we have wrote so many comments, but that's fine. I'm not talking about this comment. Maybe let's say in this complete execution, let's say this cap, I don't want this one to get executed. So what I can do? I can comment. So how to comment? Just give 2 forward slashes here, right? And this will be commented. You can see as soon as you comment, the complete line will get cleaned up, and this will not be executed, right? Which means, let's take this piece of code. Let's say I'm actually printing both result and value. Let's say I'm gonna comment this, which is mine. I don't want to print result. I'm not interested in result. What I'm interested is whether it is converting or not. That's it. Comment. That's it. This is called as a single line comment, and this is called, once you comment any statement that is called as a dead code. And that code is not will not be considered for compilation, will not be considered for execution of anything. Right? Now this is something which is called a single line comment. And also you have a shortcut to comment. Let's say if you want to comment this line, just be in that line and say Control K C. Press on Control, keep it pressed, and press on K C. If you comment. Similarly, Control K U is done. That's so simple. Right? Now let's understand multi-line comment. Now let's say I don't want to use these three. Then you can see for multi-line comment you have slash star as we have in C++. And let's say okay, this is my end of comment. Let's say you have a star and slash. Now this will comment multiple lines in one shot. Right? So it will actually comment multiple lines in one shot, and which we don't need or which we don't want to get into execution, which means we are making these three lines of statements as a dead code. Right? Either you can actually go and actually go ahead with this slash star and star slash, or I can also use a quick shortcut method. Right? Let's say I want to comment right these lines for example. Right? So I have a shortcut Control KC. Shortcut is same Control KC and Control KU. Control KC will comment and Control KU is uncomment. Yes, sir. Now these are first set of comments called okay. These we are actually making our program right. These statements as a dead code. No compilation or no execution will happen over here. Simple as that. Right? Now, sorry, Mahesh, do the commented lines get compiled? No, this is not all used at all. I mean, compiled in the sense it will be taken as a dead code, and dead code will always be moved as a meta component. That's it. No compilation. Okay, even if I do something wrong, let's say instead of char, let's say I'm saying chr. That doesn't matter when I compile it, right? When I build it, doesn't matter because it is dead code. End of the day, it is dead. Got it, Mahesh? Right?
Yes.
So no, it is not used for anything. Right? So now this is something which is used for. Now here itself you can see we have used some comments. Why we have used some comments here? To signify okay, what exactly is this variable all about? As I said, it says sign byte. Okay, I'm mentioning that sign byte. So in this way, I can mention this. Okay, this is a main method. You can see if you press on 3 slashes, right, it will give you a fully commented ones. And this is the best practice we should always use. Whenever you create a method, always create these type of comments. Says let's say this is main method, right? Trigger point for the application. I'll say. So now, so why it is important? So see, whatever applications you normally develop for a client, right? So you may or may not stay forever to maintain that, right? So there will be a possibility that some other developer may come and will have to look into your code. Your code should be so good with all the comments that it should not actually right. It should not be so tough to understand. Okay, your variable declarations, right? Anyways, for training we're just using B, SD and all. In real time we should never use it. Anyways, I'm going to give you the terminology of how to define names of a variable or a class or a method or anything it can be. But yes, it's always important to maintain good nomenclature. right? It is always good to use a good normal feature for defining. So this is something which is again common we are using to actually uh, these comments we are actually using to actually mention for what I have created this method. Similarly, I can actually mention it for class also. Let's say I'm going to mention. So there is nothing like parameters which we have definitely, but I can mention this is for data types class, for example. Yep, I can define it any way I want. Maybe if you want to define, let's say I want to define here also. Let's say I'll take these are right. I would say imported namespaces. So I can define comment anywhere I want, right? Because my compiler will not consider whatever is being commented for compilation or execution, right? So this is how we normally create a simple comment of single line and multi-line, right? So this is about a typecasting and comment serial. Right? So let's move on to the next one, which is our methods. So let's understand the methods. So before understanding methods, let's do one thing. Let me create a new project. Right. So as of now, we were actually working on the project name called My First, right? So first, what we'll do, we'll actually create a separate project, right? And then we'll actually understand the methods and kind of arrays. So let me create a new project. So how to create a new project? So go to solution, because solution is the one under which we can create a project. So right click on this and say add a new project. You can see here you have an option of new project. So anyways, it will open up a new wizard window again, same wizard window which we have created before, where I'm going to select console application. So here, let me call it as so the methods as maybe let me call it as project sample. I'll take some project name, for example, become OK. So now you can see under the solution, right? It created a new project called project sample. This is altogether different project we have, and in this project, which is of type console application, again we have created. I have a class created called program.cs. You can see again the same, which contains my class, which contains my main method and everything, as if we have created in a main, right? And if you want to see it in folder structure, you can always right click and say open containing folder, and in this folder I can see, okay, I have my code, October code batch. You can see first time we created a first project called My First, and you can see My First folder, and now we created a project sample. You can see project. If you go inside, again you will have your project file called Visual C# project, right, where we are actually creating all the details, right? So this is something which is a new project altogether got created, right? And before we move on, there is one thing which is very important. You can see that this project is bolded when compared to this. What exactly is this? At a time, we can run only one project under one solution. Very important. I cannot run, if I have 10 different projects in a solution, I cannot execute all 10 projects. No, I can't do that. I can execute only one project, and through that project maybe I can stand back to other projects. That is different, will be later. But now, as of now, among these two, I want this project sample to be the one which I'm going to start. So in that situation, you right click on your project which you want to trigger, and you have set as startup project. Click on it. Now see, as soon as you do set and startup project, you can see the My First right is not bolded now, right? Under the solution, the project sample is bolded. So if you want, you can check it. So let's say in this main method, let's say I'm going to print again console dot write line of I'll say this is methods project, for example. I'm saying for project, and we have a console dot read line, right? Run it. So when you run it, you can see this is a method file. If you want, you can actually increase the font for this to understand, right? This is, so which means now my project, which is current project, is a main project. Perfect. Now let's move on and understand the methods. Now, so before we understand methods, let's understand how to debug. What is debugging? Very important, right? And why do we normally use debugging for? So here, right, debugging is the process where we normally look at step-by-step execution to see or to find out if there is any flaw in a program, or to find out at what step what is the value of any entity, any property, any variables, or whatever it is. So this is something where you want to see the step-by-step execution of your program, right? So for example, let's say here what I'm gonna do, whatever you have done, I'll do the same. Let's say int I1 I have taken as 10, right? Int or let's say long L1, I'll take it as I1, and I'll say console dot write line of L1. So these are few steps we have created, right? So few statements we have created, and we know that all the statements are sequentially executed unless it creates a variable called I1 and assign the value 10 to I1, it will not move to the next variable called L1, right? It has to create. Now let me show you how to create it. So the first step of debugging is place debug points. So wherever you want to pause execution, mainly it is not stop execution, pause execution, and from there onwards you can actually take up your how the step-by-step is executed. For that we need a breakpoint. We normally call them as a debug point or a breakpoint. So you can create breakpoint within this actual method definition anywhere you want. So let's say I'm going to place breakpoint here. See how to place. So in this area, grayed area, you can see, click on a specific line, and you can see, okay, this is a place where we are actually placing a breakpoint. Click again if you want. Or select a line wherever you want to place breakpoint and press on F9. F9 is again a shortcut to place a breakpoint. Press F9 again if you go. Fine. So let me keep this breakpoint. Now see what happens. So let me save it, rebuild it, and now let me run it. Now when you run it, this program will start. And normally what always used to happen, it will always start and immediately it will give a output. See, it will not give output now, but you can see here wherever we have actually kept the breakpoint, right? It actually stopped at that point. Right now, if you want to see, I mean, how exactly it actually stopped and on, right? So you can see that the yellow highlighted one on top of your breakpoint. Right, is your convention to say, okay, there is a stop happen. Now, if you want to move on this execution, right, we have a shortcut keys to move. We have shortcut key called F10. If you want to move on step by step, press on F10. See, when you press F10, after getting into method, it will get into first statement. Right now, this is the execution point. Now, if you press F10 again, right, as soon as you press F10, you can see this will be execution completed. You can see there is a variable called I1 and the value is 10. Now execution of this completed, and now right it is in execution called longer. Now press F10 again. Okay, longer execution completed. You can see L1, right, and you have value 10. Now what it is doing, it is going to print. Now it will not print. See, let me keep this console aside. Now here we are in console.writeLine, which means we are in the statement. When I say F10, which means okay, this statement got executed, and if you go back, you can see the value got printed. Similarly, press F10 again. Go back again, you can see. But this is something which is called as a debugging. Where you have placed your debug points, right? You have placed your debug points, and you are actually looking at line by line debugging done through. Right, now this is how we normally work with a debug. So now let's say read line is there. When I press F10, see, it will open on this. Why? Because read line is something which is expecting some input. Let's say if you enter something, enter. Now it will come back and press F5. F5 is continue execution. This is how we normally do, right, debugging normally. Right. Now why we started learning debugging first before going to methods? I'll show you. I'll show you how methods are called. See, always remember, right, until unless you go for multiple methods calling and in a parallel execution using multi-threading and all, right, which is exclusively used, right. It is always a sequential execution being done for any type of statement execution. It's always sequential. Right. So now here, let me show you how to create a simple method. Now, anyways, we have this as a method. Now, this itself is a method which is called as a trigger method. We normally call main as a trigger method. So now let me create one more method. So the method syntax is this. So we normally create an access modifier, let's say public. We'll understand what are different access modifiers we have and what does each access modifier does. We'll understand that, don't worry. Right? And then we have a return type. As of now I'm taking void and then a name of your method. Let's say I'm going to take name as sum. Open bracket, close bracket. This is a simple method. Right? Now, so let me just remove all this stuff. Let's keep it clean. Now here, now this is some method. Let's say what it does. Let's say it sums up two numbers. Let's say I have int I is equal to 90, for example, and I have int j as maybe 110, right? And let's say int x is equal to I plus j. Don't worry. Now plus, when I do plus, it's a normal I plus j. I plus j is nothing but your. We are actually taking a variable to sum. We are going to see all operators which we normally use in C# in our future classes. Maybe the next topic which we are going to touch base after this. So here I'm going to say console.writeLine of x. Now this method, it does sum of two numbers which are int defined, and that sum, whatever we are doing, we are printing. That's it. This is a simple logic we are writing here. Now how to call it? Before we call it, right? Now this is a simple method here. Before we call it, we know that this method is a static method, right? So let's make this method also static. Now why we are making it static, we'll understand later. But anyways, this is a simple method series. Okay, so there is a reason behind making this method static, which you'll understand in a deeper way when we go back and understand class, variables, members separately. So now, so when I run this program, it is not going to directly, execute this sum. No, it will not. Always, when I run my program, main is a method which always gets triggered, and that's it. As soon as whatever statements are defined within this main, it will execute and close. That's it. Nothing else. But how can I use this method? If you want to use this method, you have to call it. Fine. So let's say I want to call my method here. I'll say method name is sum. You can see is coming up as sum. Open bracket close. That's it. Now when you call sum, so let's say here I'm gonna say console dot write line of main started. So that we know that okay, what exactly is happening. I created a control line which is the right line calling main started, and then I'm calling a method, and after calling a method I'm saying this is method call. Again I said everything goes sequential. So when I'm calling a method, now this as soon as I call a method here, it will automatically go inside this method, complete the execution, and then come back to here, and then it will progress. That's how it happens. Let me run it and show. I run it, you can see main method started, and then as soon as sum is called, it will go inside this method, it will perform the logic I plus j is a 200 will be assigned, and when we are printing control line of x, right, 200 will be printed, you can see. And again, as soon as it's done, it will come back, and then it will print it, and it is ready. That's it. So let me show you in a debug mode, right, so that you understand so let me just make it small here so that we'll also see the console window how it is working. Okay, so now let me start. So let me keep this console window here so that you'll see. Now I'm gonna go to F10. F10 is your execution and execution here. So here we are in console. So right line. When I move on, you can see main started. Now we are in a method here, right? So if you want to go inside this method and see the execution, press F11 first. F11 is to peep into the method. F11, see, as soon as I press F11, okay, this is what is the execution happening. Okay, good. It went there. Now I'm going again. I have defined I have defined j. Now I plus j, it will give you 200, and I'm writing it. Yeah, as of now I don't have 200, but as soon as it is done, you can see. Sorry, 200 printed here, right? And once it is done, then moving on, right, now done. The sum method call is done, which is a separate method, and the data which we have to retrieve, right, we printed here and 200. Now it came back to main method again because it's a calling method, and then you have it a right line again. So when I press F10, you can see, and then that's it. Let's say F5. F5 will wait for our input, and that's it, close. This is how the methods are called. I hope this is clear now how to debug, how to actually call the methods. Fine, perfect. Now let's go one step ahead and create next level of method. Public. Even if you don't create public, like access modifier, that's fine. Right, as of now, you don't have to, because I'm gonna call the same methods in a same class, right? That's why it doesn't need. But anyways, we're gonna create one more class and create methods also. We'll see that one too. So let's say I'm gonna say static. Now this time I'm gonna say void, and let's say I'm gonna take a separate method called add. But this time what I'll do, I'll take parameters. Let's say int a comma int b. And what I'm going to do, I'll say int c is equal to a plus b, and I'm printing console dot write line of c. Simple understanding. Before we have just sum, and we used to hard code the values and sum up. This time what we are doing, we are providing a method called add, where I'm giving you an option to provide any number you want. I don't hard code anything. Whatever number you are providing, I'm going to take those numbers and sum up and show you the result. Simple. That's what add is. So let's see how to call. Again add. See, when I open a bracket, right, automatically it says The program is nothing but a program class. Dot add is nothing but a method. And you can see int a comma int b. These are the parameters which you have defined here. Now these are called as the arguments or parameters for a method which we have to pass. So here let's say I'm going to pass 150 comma maybe 350 kind of close by. See, once you assign 150 based on the sequence of parameters, what's the first parameter? 150. It will be assigned to A. What's the parameter 350? It is assigned to B, which means A value is 150, B value is 350. Once you sum up, the sum will be saved to C and it will be simple. And see here, after sum we are calling add, which means first it will execute the sum method, come back, and then it will execute the add method. That's how the sequence is maintained. Until unless I comment it, let's say if I comment it or remove it, right? Still it is active, it is active. So let me run the program. You can see main started and first sum got executed and it printed 200, and then add got triggered, and you can see in this method A plus B 150 plus 350 500 will be printed, and then this is method. This is how we normally define this. Going one step ahead, let's understand what is return type. So till now we have seen something called void word. This is called as a return type. A return type you can have any type of returning from your method. And when you say void means no return. It's this is a function we are defining without any return type. Now let's define return type. Let me just make one more type called static int this time, not void int, which means this method returns integer value. Okay, so let me call this aggregation or something AGR. Let's say int h comma int j. Open and close. Okay. Now here I'm going to say int k is equal to h plus j. Now this time what we are doing is we don't want to print anything here, but I want to return a value. See, what I want to return? I want to return an integer type, right? So I'll say return. Return is a keyword and k. K, what is k? K is integer. End of the day, whatever value we are passing on this method, what it will do? It will sum up, assign back to k, and k is returning. When we are returning k, which means I am returning the result of the sum. So here what I can do? How to call this method? Calling this method is AGR. Now you can see I have to provide two values h. Let's say 450, comma, let's say 900. And that's it. Now, but this is returning a value, right? This is returning integer. It is not printing anything. It is returning the result which we have to capture. So, in order to capture, you have to understand what type it is returning. It is returning integer type. So, what I can do, I can say integer. I can take any value like let's say result res is equal to, that's it. So when I'm calling this method, yes, I provided some. You can provide any number of parameters. It's not just two parameters. I can just go and say let's say something called L. Let's say. So I want to print or I want to sum up all C. Yeah, you can do that. Not a problem. As soon as you change signature, this is called a signature of the method, it will change because it says we have wrong arguments. So increase the arguments again. Let's say I'm going to say 100. And this will return you result. So as soon as you get getting result, let's say I'm going to print result here, console.write line of office. So what we are doing, this method is a very robust method where with accepting arguments, doing just the logical operations and returning the result. Whatever you want to do with the result, we are doing it here. What we are doing is printing. Now this is your return type we normally call. So let me run this. You can see 200 is the first sum. Anyway, it will always follow the sequence again. Sum method 200, add method 500. And now you can see aggregation is calling 450 plus 900 plus 100, which is 1450 will be assigned back to res, and when we print res, you can see the result as 1450. Simple. And this is how the methods are created and called out from all over here. Now, similarly, you can also create your methods across classes. If you remember, we have used classes before, right? Creating an object, right? So the creating an object and creating a method and variable type we'll actually understand, right? Whenever we come to the class static, right? Which is in tomorrow's lecture when we are done with arrays, right? We will actually come to something called, or even before arrays, we will be understand something called class variables and objects or members generally. Instead of calling variables, let me call it as members. Okay. So this is a very important topic to understand, and during this numbers understanding, you will understand how to again call these methods across classes, like which we normally call them as a reusable components. Right? Now this is something which you are going to see in our websites. So that's it for today. We have any questions till now, guys?
If we don't put the keyword static in front of, like, we would have to create an object.
Okay, I got your method. I got your question. See, as of now, these methods are created in the same class, right? Right. So when we create a method in the same class, yes, we can actually create a method without static also, right? And we can call them with a different way to class. But that we'll understand as part of class numbers and class object numbers. Okay? Because before that we have to understand what is an object and how can we call object numbers. Right? So that's why for now I've created methods within a class and I've made them intentionally static. Yes, I can make it non-static, or I can just make void sum, but I have to call it in a different way. But before understanding that, we have to understand something called what is object number. So that we'll understand, and then we'll get back to calling these methods, even if we static or non-static directly from a main method. We'll see that one. Okay. 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 Any other question, guys? Mahesh, so Rahul, you're saying, okay, you cannot find. No, I've already uploaded Rahul. I've already uploaded the recording, yesterday's recording in the Dropbox, yes.